Many years ago, Uzoma and Chidi were freshly out of school. Chidi was a fine artist and just loved to draw. He intended to one day have his own art gallery where people would come to see his works as well as be able to host art exhibitions with other artists. These were plans, dreams. Uzoma, on the other hand, wanted to be a fashion designer, a fashion consultant. They were friends from school and they loved each other. But would their love stand the test ahead? Uzoma wanted marriage as soon as possible. Chidi wanted them to wait and build up resources to be able to lay a good financial foundation for their family. As is often the case with many girls, Uzoma said, "My dear Chidi, building up money is better and faster when we are inside the home together. That way, our resources will be pulled together in our family, for our family. You can see we now pay rent in 2 places, cook in 2 places. But if we get the knots tied, rent will be just on 1 apartment, and of course, cooking will be in 1 kitchen." She further said, "I see you becoming a world-class artist, and for your international exhibitions, you would wear my designs. Don't you think it makes a lot of sense?" Chidi said, "Okay, your word is my command, my goddess." In a few months, they made their wedding plans and got married. Soon, all the fancy ideas came crumbling as Uzoma took in immediately. So most of their attention was on taking care of her and learning all they needed to take care of a new baby. So all the money that they dreamed would be flowing into their bank accounts didn't. Soon, Uzoma had a beautiful baby girl, and that brought its own set of fresh and higher demands on them. When the baby, Kachi, was just 1 month old, still being breastfed, Uzoma packed her bags and decided to leave home. She told Chidi she was feeling suffocated and wanted to go find her life elsewhere. Chidi said, "My love, remember we promised each other love forever? What about our baby Kachi?" Uzoma said, "I hate to see you talking all that nonsense. I am tired of being caged in. I want to breathe fresh air. I cannot continue to suffer in this hole you call a house. Yes, keep your baby, Kachi. I am gone. Regard me as dead. I will leave this town. I want to at least go somewhere else and repackage. Enough of this poverty merry-go-round." She jumped into a waiting taxi and left. Chidi was crying with Kachi in his hands. The next day, he carried Kachi to the park looking for Uzoma to give her an envelope of 10,000 naira he had with a note in which he wrote, "I love you always." But he saw her holding hands with another well-dressed young man, talking and laughing, about to enter the same vehicle. He was heartbroken and left, carrying Kachi home. He was so confused. He had just gotten a job at a construction site before Kachi was born to just be able to earn some money. So the next day, he carried Kachi to work. He needed the daily pay he was earning to be able to buy formula for Kachi. Not knowing what to do, he carried her to work and kept her at a corner. Soon she started crying and his supervisor shouted at him for trying to endanger the baby's life. He lost the job immediately, that very day. Chidi was thinking up and down. He started talking to himself. "I am not good enough for Uzoma and she left me. I don't have money, but I work hard and I know I would make enough money for us to be far more comfortable. But she is gone. I feel so devastated. I cannot leave Kachi and I cannot get out to go get a job without carrying her with me. What do I do? This is no life. I think the best is to let go of everything. The river is close by. It would be less painful to die with Kachi instead of watching her die. He started going to the nearest river. He stepped in with Kachi in his hands, kept stepping in and taking more steps into the deeper part of the river when a familiar voice called him. "Chidi, Mr. Chidi, please come back." He turned back and saw a woman that lives on the same street with him, Emma. She said, "I will help take care of her. Please don't do that." She had her own baby strapped at her back. She got to him in the river and took Kachi from him. He had confused emotions, pain, relief, disappointment, gratitude. He followed her as they walked back home. He had no money. He had no courage to face the world. He became an orphan at 12, and he lives very far from home. He was like at a 0 point in his life. Of course, holding any pencil to work was completely made impossible by the trauma. What could a confused brain draw? Encouraged by Emma, he went out to look for a job again. He became a laborer on a construction site. His supervisor was particularly nice to him, and having heard his story, encouraged him to not throw his talent away. His job as a laborer was tough, but he kept putting in his best because he needed money to buy formula and clothing for Kachi and be able to eat to keep working. Chidi fell from the first floor of the building one day. He missed his steps on the balcony under construction and landed on the ground. They thought he had died, but saw him breathing. He was at the hospital for weeks. His left hand was badly injured. One day, the owner of the house under construction came visiting. With the help of some nurses, Chidi was able to sit up in bed. As the man was talking about Chidi's recovery speed, Chidi sketched him in a few minutes and gave him. The man was pleasantly surprised and gave a good severance package to Chidi. Chidi soon got well and went back home. Kachi is getting bigger. No word at all from Uzoma. After a few weeks of not working, Chidi decided it was time to break clean of the cycle of bad happenings up and down, and that he would never look for Uzoma again. To him, she was dead. With a left hand that was no longer perfect, he couldn't work as a laborer, but he determined that there must be something somewhere he could do to change his lot. He got a job with a school close by as a fine arts teacher. With a salary, he could support Emma and her baby, as well as Kachi, whom Emma had been taking care of. One day, an idea came to him to marry Emma. Emma was abandoned by the father of her baby. Chidi now loves Emma and respects her. Also, she was doing the work of a mother to his baby Kachi. He found joy in teaching children at school. He discussed his ideas with Emma and she accepted. They got married. Another thing he wanted was to open their own school, since the two kids would go to school anyway. In a few years, the school, Lush Green Schools, started. After all the registrations with government and necessary government bodies were completed, he ran a special fine arts class in Lush Green, and the nursery and junior primary school kids were picking up very fast. At the end of 3 years, the school organized an arts exhibition. It was amazing. Parents saw their portraits made by their very young kids. Kachi was 7 at this point. She made a portrait of the governor of the state. Each child stood by their works. There was a lot of excitement in the air. Kachi confidently stood by her works. The governor's portrait and a chick coming out of a broken eggshell. A beautiful mountain scene she did when the school went on a picnic on the mountain. Parents' excitement was much. One parent after another decided to pay for the artwork of his child to the school. This gave the school another idea to organize a more elaborate art exhibition where dignitaries from town would come. The parents went to town talking about the exhibition. word went round and the governor heard about it. It took 2 years for the school to prepare. During this period also, the school was going for fine arts competitions with other schools. On the set day for the well-advertised exhibition, the artworks were set on boards and tables. Parents were awed. The guests from town saw works that made their jaws drop. The Commissioner for Education reported what he saw to the governor. This commissioner was the owner of the property Chidi fell at. He particularly bought and collected the portrait Kachi had made of the governor, which she touched up this time around. The exhibition was a grand success. Mr. Chidi's life is completely changed for the better. He poured everything he knew in fine arts into these kids. And one day, the governor sent for him. There was a global fine arts competition for children in Germany. 10 kids are required from each interested country. The kids had just 1 year to prepare. Within 6 months of competing with other schools in Nigeria, Lush Green School had 8 of their kids chosen, while 2 came from other schools. Kachi was the lead. Emma's baby boy was on the team also, and the state was their sponsor. On October 3rd of the year, they flew to Berlin, Team Nigeria led by Chidi. It was a 2-day competition. 15 nations made it to the finals, and Nigeria was chosen. The very first position went to Kachi, followed by a kid from Finland, then followed by 4 kids from Lush Green schools. Newspapers in Nigeria carried the news with pictures, of course. Unknown to Mr. Chidi, Uzoma had lived in Germany and went back to Lagos, Nigeria. She saw the news and sought audience with Mr. Chidi the day they arrived to Nigeria. The president would receive them at the villa, so it wasn't possible for her to meet Chidi. Then 2 months later, she summoned up courage to come to see Chidi at Lush Green. When Mr. Chidi saw her name, he asked the gatekeeper to let her into his office. She was looking underfed and lost color. She said, "I lived in Berlin, but I was deported for incomplete entry papers and fighting with a neighbor of mine. I came back to Nigeria, but getting a job and keeping it became a problem. It's been one problem after another. Sorry, but I have to tell you the truth. I married a 3rd husband who was very rich, but was caught in bank robbery, and because some lives were involved, he faced the firing squad." Chidi listened patiently and asked, "So why are you here now?" She said, "I came to beg to come back to you, to our first love, to the peace and love you gave me. I came to ask for your forgiveness." Mr. Chidi stood up at this point and said, "Uzoma, I hold no bitterness against you, at least not anymore. We are done. The day you left, you shouted at me to forget about you, to just regard you as dead. You heartlessly left a 1-month-old baby in my hands. I packaged the only 10,000 naira I had in an envelope with a love note, carried Kachi along to give you the money at the park. But I turned back when I saw you with a bubbling young man entering the bus together. The world collapsed around me then. But by God's grace, you can see, God changed my life. Everything has turned around. The Kachi you left has become a global star at 10. We have moved on. You two keep moving on. Don't bother to look for us ever again. Feel free to read about us on the pages of the newspapers." Uzoma left, ashamed, crying. Years later, news had it that she swallowed wraps of cocaine, meaning to poop them out for sale later in Malaysia. But she was caught. They detained her, got out the wraps from her poop, and injected the whole wraps into her system and sent her back to Nigeria. In a few days, she went blind. Then she was bedridden and died. Chidi and Kachi, the child prodigy artists, are examples of courage, patience, and resilience. Try again. Giving up should never be an option. If they abandon you, don't abandon yourself. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, roll. But by all means, keep moving. What have you learned from this story? Do you think there is any good reason to give up on life? Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Also, please encourage us to roll out more African real life stories by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Remember to click the bell icon so you will be the first to know when we upload another very interesting story video. Till then, remain amazing. Goodbye.